at Arbitron, the experience there was interesting because we were a very legacy-driven culture. We've always done it this way. We've always done it this way, right? Which was a challenge to break through when I joined there as CIO 9 years ago. But we brought in new executives. A new CFO came in 6 months after I did, and that enabled the organization, I think, to rethink a lot of things. That said, our main drivers for finance were around analytics. They were very, very in need of tools to be able to run the business. They really didn't have it. Things like manually created reports and spreadsheets that took literally days or sometimes weeks to be produced. So one of the first things we did was drive a lot of the data into a finance-oriented data warehouse, got it off-site, got it served through two tools, actually. TM1 was installed, which was not the greatest tool we ever put in, and it was a little bit constraining, but it was very finance-focused. I think the breakthrough we had was when we went through a pretty major project to install business objects, which at that time hadn't been bought by SAP yet, and stood up very customized dashboards for different roles within the finance department, right? And I think one of the critical success factors was, yes, we allowed a couple people in finance to be what I call super users and really analyze just about whatever they wanted at any time, but we found the right balance was to take the rest of the line and not bury them in that and paralyze them with that, and we created for them their own view of the world. It was very routine and repetitive, but was real time, and I think it made a world of difference in the finance department.
I think it's a lot of what you're saying resonates. I mean, I think if I look at it, a couple of things are happening within the office CFO, even before you get into systems and things of the sort. First of all, the breadth of what the office CFO does is expanding. I often say that CFOs really have no power, because what is my power to go to my colleagues and say, because of SOX controls, you need to do it that way? Not having taken an accounting course, I can't even go to that path. So the power really comes from the power to influence by bringing insights, and that's where there's an emerging opportunity. So I'm starting to find things happening within the finance organization where things like predictive analytics and big data, I'm seeing more and more reporting into the finance organization. I'm starting to see in our organization hiring data scientists in the finance team to create some power users. Most of them reside in the analytics team, but we're hiring them there to be able to go further based on what they need to do. Starting to see, just as you were saying, those things that are institutionalized, operationalize them and create self-service tools. So the teams really focus on the things that are new. And that's stretching the organization. And so the profile of the people that I think we're hiring today isn't the traditional profile I grew up with 15, 20 years ago. And in some sense, it's change management with the folks who have grown up with a traditional path. It's not the same way. And there's some of them who struggle with it.
In our business, your risk management typically revolves around your financial statements and making sure you have the controls in place so that you don't experience any kind of material misstatement of your financials. But when you're in the digital world, and particularly dealing with the cloud, our industry does get exposed to some regulation, particularly around student privacy, right? We have mothers who are hacking into their kids' accounts so they can find out their grades in university. That doesn't happen. But we do need to be very careful around that. So we get more proactive around risk management, teaching the organization what are risks, what types of controls do you have in place to mitigate them, how do you monitor these controls to ensure that you're complying with whatever it is, your policies, your procedures, or or the law. And in a very legacy business like ours, this is very sophisticated stuff for folks to to understand. But finance brings a good control discipline to this.
Any other comments from anybody else about risk, managing risk?
I'll make one comment from the IT perspective. I think you're right, Bill. Factually, security at top-tier providers, if you're going to go cloud, is as good or better than what you might be able to provide in the corporate sense. That doesn't mean that everybody in management positions understands or believes that, right? I mean, I'll give you an example. Just the heightened worry of all these high-profile hacks has reached the boardroom, right? One of the first things that happened to me when I came into Madison Square Garden was I was scheduled by the CEO to go sit down with internal audit. And I sat down with internal audit and got dumped on my desk, here's a latest penetration test we had a third party do. Here's an internal data security risk analysis we did last year in internal audit. And by the way, you're going to have to go present to the board in February what we're doing about all this, right? So it is big time focus right now. And part of the battle you wage in IT, hopefully with partners who are willing to support you in the finance area, is you have to take prudent business risk, right? There is no perfect solution that is 100% bulletproof. And you need to get, especially the audit committee of the board and the CEO, comfortable that, yes, the risk is never going to be zero, and we're making a conscious decision around an 80-20 rule with a very special focus on private information, right? And I think if you can get to that point, you can move forward. But right now, it's a lot of yelling and gnashing of teeth.